Russ Pennell joins us now, head basketball coach at Grand Canyon University. They win again last night. They are crushing teams on the road on the boards and making their free throws, which is something that earlier in the season, Russ, you were kind of concerned about with your team.
Yeah, we've done a better job of that, and we had a little lull there, especially at the free throw line where we were struggling. We were leading the league, and then we went from leading the league to about fourth or fifth in league. But the last two games we've hit over 90%, and then as you said, we've been really good on the backboards. And when you do those two things, you have a chance to win every ball game. And I've been real pleased. Just the way we've played so far in this road trip, the first two games.
Antelopes are 19-5, 10-3 in the Pacific West Conference. They won last night in Belmont, California. Where are you today?
We're in San Francisco. In fact, we're just now getting some sandwiches at Mr. Pickle.
Oh.
How about that for an endorsement?
Mr. Pickle, that sounds great.
It's actually a chain up here that we found a couple of years ago. The guys love it. And today is our mandatory off day. We have to take a day off this week, and since we have 2 days in between, we're not going to do anything basketball related today. We just got done with study hall and grabbed some lunch. We're going to take the guys down to the city, let them see Chinatown, Fisherman's Wharf, and then we're going to eat dinner tonight at Union Square. So it'll be a fun day.
That's a great college experience. I mean, that's really what it should be about. I know that people get cynical and jaded about, these kids, that universities are making money off of kids and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, Russ, it sounds like you're just taking these kids and taking them through life in college. That's the way that it should be.
Well, what I think, Brad, is it's our duty as a coaches, yes, to teach them to pass, dribble, and shoot, but we need to try to educate them in other areas. They need to see the Golden Gate Bridge. Some of these kids have never been this way before. They need to experience some of these things, and I think this is all part of the education process and stuff that they'll never forget. I know in my life, basketball's taken me places I would have never imagined I'd get to go as a kid, and I've been able to see things and learn things simply through this game, and I think that's the ultimate of what we do. Yes, we need to win, but we need to make sure these guys have a great experience.
10-day road trip continues. 2 more games to go up in the Bay Area. Russ Pennell with us for a couple of minutes. Talk to the coach every week, GCU, and also on the college basketball scene. I mentioned Joe Lunardi, and we're going to have Jerry Palm on with us tomorrow with CBS Sports. Do coaches rip open that stuff and start looking at it around the middle of February as to where they're being projected to make it or not make it?
Yeah, I think they do, and there's another aspect to that, too. What you start doing as a coach, too, you start looking at other conferences. You start looking at other teams, and you see how they're doing, because you realize you're neck and neck with some other teams in other leagues. And I think it's fun for coaches. It's stressful for coaches. You try to keep that away from your players, but they turn on ESPN. They can see that stuff also. And I heard you mention that, right as of today, Arizona State's last team out. Well, let them win, this week. Let them win Thursday, and they're back in. And really, that's why you just have to take care of what you can take care of, and let the chips fall where they may. Where you really get nervous is toward the end of the year when conference tournament time rolls around, and you've got teams that are getting upset in conference tournaments, and someone wins a tournament that never was anticipated of going to the NCAAs, and that's what can really knock you out. So, it's a stressful time of year for coaches, but if you keep it on the right plane, it motivates your team.
That's when you get like a Big South against a MEAC, against a SWAC, against an NEC. Those are the conferences that drive you nuts, right?
Well, they do, and then the ones that I always thought were stressful were the ones that could be a 2-bid league, and they might get a third team in. For instance, the WCC,
yep.
or let's say the Missouri Valley, where you pretty much know Wichita State and Creighton are in if they do what they're supposed to do. Well, all of a sudden, a team that's underachieved a tad this year has been Illinois State. Well, they're getting hot all of a sudden. They were picked as one of the top 2 or 3 teams. Well, they go to Creighton and win the other night. Now they're kind of getting their team and their ship righted. Well, what if they go into the Missouri Valley tournament and win that? Well, that took somebody's spot, because more than likely Wichita and Creighton are going also, and that's the type of team that knocks Arizona State or another team in a major conference out.
I'm hearing a lot of love for Miami. I know you're on the road a lot. Miami's had themselves a great season. They did lose to Florida Gulf Coast at one point this season. Have you seen Miami? Are they a 1 seed in your mind?
I think they can be. I think what they had early in the year, Brad, they had a lot of injuries. They also have a lot of older guys, a lot of guys who've redshirted. And it seems to me they're getting healthy at the right time, getting all their pieces back together, and that's why you're seeing the way they're playing, especially at home, how they're just destroying people. They destroyed Duke, as we know, and they destroyed North Carolina. And the thing that's impressed me about Miami, and I've even pointed this out to my own team, is the way they jump on people. They are ready to play when the ball is tipped. And they just simply have won games a lot of times in the first 5 to 6 minutes of the game. And to me, that's a sign of maturity. That's a sign of a team that's hungry, and it's a sign of good coaching. And so I do believe Miami, if they keep on the path they're on, will definitely be in the conversation for a 1 seed.
Russ Pennell with us, GCU head coach. It's a day off for the Lopes up in the Bay Area as they continue on their 10-day road trip, 19-5 on the season, having a great run as the season moves on. Is there a team nationally in the March Madness conversation you're starting to look at and say, boy, it's the right time for them? I really like the way they're playing.
Well, I think right now it would be Miami, just what we talked about, because they seem to have been the most consistent team. But I also think the Big Ten is awful strong, and it won't surprise me if they don't get maybe 2 teams to the Final Four. And I know everyone wants to point to say Michigan and Indiana, and that's true. But I also like teams like Wisconsin. They may be a little under-talented than other teams, but what happens as the NCAA tournament rolls around, people get more conservative. The scores go down. Possessions mean more and more. And teams like Wisconsin are tough outs. And I think that they've, when they're at home, they're just lights out. But I like their team a lot. I really like Indiana because they can score. And right now, this year, it seems, Brad, that scoring is coming harder and harder. I know we've even faced that at times this year.
Yep.
Kansas, one of the reasons they struggle is they can't score in the half court. And Indiana is one of the few teams I think can score it in the half court and in transition, which makes them very, very difficult to play against.
And tonight, I'm sure you know this, but for the listeners, tonight's the first time ever that both Michigan and Michigan State meet when both teams are ranked in the top 10. The Wolverines number 4, the Spartans number 8. And that speaks to the depth when you throw Indiana atop of it, of what's going on in the Big Ten Conference this season. Sean Miller, and I'll let you go off this. Sean Miller says that the Pac-12 deserves 5. Do you see 5 out of the Pac-12?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I think the Pac-12 is down a little bit. I really do. I think they're beating each other up. The problem they're going to have is they just simply don't have enough quality wins in the non-conference. They didn't beat good enough teams when they had the head-to-heads. And I think that's what's going to get them in the end, because what we tend to do sometimes is you get caught up in your conference play and you have these close games, and, in Arizona's case, they lose to Cal, and Cal loses to Arizona State, and you can say, we're beating each other up. But then what happens is the committee says, okay, that might be a valid point. Let's go look and see what you did in November and early December. And when they can't come up with quality wins by everyone, now Arizona's fine, but some of these other teams, it's not going to bode well for them, because I know Washington has a couple of bad losses, and there are other teams in that league that have gotten beaten by just some very average teams. So I don't see 5, and certainly as some of these other conferences emerge with better teams, I think the Pac-12 will be lucky to get 4.
Safe travels. Get a sweep. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Brad.